Just outside the village of Luger, along the A70, is a very easily overlooked set of stairs that leads to a small sign. The sign marks the approximate site of the rescue of a man named David Houston on the 20th of June, although some sources say the 28th of July of 1688. But why was David Houston there, and why did he need rescuing in the first place? It is thought that David was born in Paisley, Scotland, around the year 1633. Later, he moved to Northern Ireland and became licensed to preach in the Glenarm and Ballymoney area. Sometime before 1672, as it was in that year his license was removed by the local presbytery due to his support for the Covenanters in opposition to the king and his government. Houston had apparently been influenced by Alexander Peden, who often crossed over to preach in Ireland during this time. I have made a few videos about Alexander Peden, one titled Twice Buried, and another about his mask on display in the Museum of Scotland. If you're interested in learning more about him, I recommend those videos. Among the members of the Reformed Presbyterian Church of Ireland, Houston is still considered a key figure in their history. One site stated, "Ultimately, the only minister left residing in Ireland who would not keep silent concerning the obligation of the covenant was David Houston." James Renwick, who was to die for the faith in Scotland, wrote this, "As for Mr. David Houston, he carries very straight. I think him both learned and zealous. He seems to have much of the spirit of our early professors, for he opposes much the passing from any part of our testimony, and sticks close to every form of order whereunto we have obtained." The site goes on to say, while others were letting the Solemn League covenant be forgotten, Houston did not, and the people who adhered to him became the Reformed Presbyterian Church of Ireland. By 1686, Houston was known to be preaching in Scotland, and at a secret meeting held in December in Wanlockhead, he so impressed some of the leaders of the Scottish Covenanting movement that he was asked to preach at conventicles on a trial basis. On the 16th of January, 1687, he is recorded to have preached to a large crowd in the Kilmarnock area. A number of those who attended were later arrested, but they were unable or unwilling to tell the authorities the name of the preacher. In 1688, perhaps as a result of the capture and execution of his friend the Reverend James Renwick, Houston returned to Ireland. He continued to preach in various parts of Ireland, often to large crowds in fields, until he was arrested and initially taken as prisoner to Dublin. In May of 1688, it was determined by the government that he should be brought to stand trial in Scotland, where likely he would have been condemned and executed. Word reached a group of Covenanters that Houston and the soldiers guarding him would be stopping at an inn in the town of Cumnock called the Blue Tower. Nothing is now left of this inn, but the street it was on, formerly known as Back Street, was renamed Tower Street and lies just off the town square. The Covenanters decided to attempt a bold rescue of Houston. They chose a spot called Bellow Path or Bellow Pass, a narrow gully between rocky cliffs on the road towards Edinburgh. Even today, this is an area that seems like a perfect spot for ambush, as the road bends and curves with the river on one side and rough hilly ground on the other. As the soldiers approached the area, they were ambushed by the hidden Covenanters. Several of the soldiers were killed. The ones still able to do so began to return fire. One Covenanter, John McGinchin, was severely injured and would later die from his wounds. Unfortunately for David Houston, the shooting spooked the horse he was mounted on. His legs had been tied to the horse, and as the horse took off, he fell and was dragged along by the horse. One Scottish source said that the resulting injuries left Houston short in his naturals, that is, with severe brain injuries. And most Scottish sites and sources will say that he was never the same again. But other sources, especially those of the Reformed Presbyterian Church, which now has churches all over the world, including quite a large number in the United States, claim that Houston was still quite capable of preaching. According to the Irish Reformed Presbyterian site, Houston soon returned to Ireland, where he preached to a congregation of over 500 people in a field shortly after returning. They go on to say by his death in 1696, he had united the Covenanting societies and firmly established the cause of the Reformed Presbyterian Church in Ulster. To close on what is something of an amusing and interesting bit of speculation, there have been some attempts to link David Houston somewhat indirectly with Houston, Texas. The city of Houston in the United States is named after General Sam Houston, who, among other claims to fame, helped Texas successfully become independent of Mexico, and is the only person thus far to serve as a governor for two states, Tennessee and Texas. The connection to David Houston is said to be through his brother John, while Sam Houston's great-grandfather is recorded to have been named John and was indeed a Scots-Irish, and did indeed come from Ulster over to the United States around this time. For what I've seen, he did not appear to be the brother of David Houston, though of course it is possible, and even likely, that there was some family connection. If you should ever find yourself in the Lugar area of Scotland, and have the time, and can find it, I would encourage you to visit the little sign marking the rescue of David Houston. For now, this is goodbye.